Hello everybody, welcome back to Jerfish Entertainment, or should I say JerBee Apiary. Yes, new thing. The weather finally got warm here up in upstate New York. Today is the day though where I pick up the bees. I've been working on these hives for the last couple of weeks. It is a Layens style hive setup, which means it is a horizontal hive instead of the traditional Langstroth hives that most people have in this country. I chose that because I did not want to have to lift 90-pound boxes of honey. And also there's some theories that maybe it's a more natural way to approach beekeeping. You don't have to mess with them as much, but I guess we'll see. I'm a complete novice at this. It's going to be a very interesting day. Before I go pick up the bees, I'm going to put some sugar water at a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar to water, kind of a homemade syrup, into some feeders inside of this hive, because these are going to be just 3 pounds of bees going into each one of these hives, and they may need a little bit of a kickstart, especially as the nectar flow is just starting around here. We've even had snow here last week, even though we're looking at mid-May right now. This hive itself can hold up to 20 frames, and it does have frames. It's not just a top bar hive without frames, and it has a Beeswax Foundation on it that I had already installed on here over the course of the last couple of weeks, and then has the plastic feeder. There are little ridges along the walls of this container so that they can climb back out without drowning. All right, off we go, and we will see what happens, and hopefully I don't have a vehicle full of bees in the near future. Well, and just like that, we have 2 boxes of bees in the back of this vehicle, and I don't think I have any clingers on the cage. Apparently, most people do perfectly fine with having some bees flying around in their vehicle when you're used to it, because they'll hang out there by the queen and the bee boxes in the back. But, you know, still a little bit strange experience for me until I get accustomed to this kind of a thing. So I think I'm going to just be happy that it doesn't look like we have any extras. Okay, it's time to light up the smoker, so I don't know if I'll actually need this or not, but I should probably have it just in case. And this is just to help kind of drive the bees down into the hive and calm them down. I think it's probably more an irritant than anything, and it just makes them go away. Got some paper clips here for suspending the queen cage inside of the hives, and I'm going to get suited up and we're going to give this a try. And on to the first hive. I removed the box top and then start taking out some frames so I can get to where I need to with the installation of the queen and the bees. The bee box has a wooden cover over the opening where the bees are, and underneath that is a silver can with sugar water in it. Now, I used the hive tool to try to jimmy it out. It's a little bit easier to put the box on its side and shake it to get it out, but I found that out a little bit after the fact. Of course, if you were to do that, you only want to shake it out just a little bit so you can grab it. I feel like we're committed now. Okay, well, it's go time. Yeah, I freely admit I totally flinched when I took that off. I didn't know what I was going to expect, and it was just different. Cool, but different. So from here, it's time to fish out the queen box. The queen box is where the queen is at, and sometimes has some attendants with her as well. The box is suspended by a little piece of rope or vinyl, and if I would have cut it before trying to get the box out, it would have been a lot easier to remove. But hey, that's part of the learning experience. Although if you were to do that, make sure you hold on to that rope when you cut it so it doesn't drop down inside of there. There are corks occluding holes on both sides of the queen cage. one side has candy on it, and that's the side you want to remove the cork from, because the bees remove the candy slowly over time as they eat their way through it to release the queen, and that also gives the colony time to get acclimatized to that queen and that queen's pheromones, since this is a transplanted queen. And this is the point where you literally dump all of these bees into the hive. Also the point where you see them flying everywhere. I'm sure they don't like that very much, but that's the fastest way to do it. There are other ways where you let them come out on their own by putting the entire box inside of the hive or outside so they march out, but there are some complications there sometimes also. Giving a little bit of smoke now, and I'm replacing the frames. You got to be careful so that you don't crush any of the bees as you're doing it, and plus the pile of bees at the bottom might be too thick for you to do it. You need to let them spread out a little bit first. At this point, the nerves of what I was actually doing had pretty much subsided. A little piece of plywood to cover the sugar water feeder, and then you close up the box. Try not to get any bees in the top area because it's somewhat isolated. And you're done. The second hive went a lot faster. It took about 25 minutes messing around with the first hive and only about 10 for the second one before I was done. I was a lot more comfortable, kind of had gotten through the first jitters, and it was a lot easier. Don't forget to take the cork out. That's the marked queen. Of course, the things you learn afterwards is I could have suspended her with a thumbtack. And you want to make sure that you put her horizontal if you have attendants in there in case one of them dies. You don't want to plug in the hole on the bottom if you were to put it vertical. Let's take out some frames. I had this hive divided so not all 20 frames are open to the bees to start out. I'm going to give them maybe half of the hive. I don't know if that's the right way to go or not. We're still making this up a little bit as we go, but let's try to install these bees. Smoke them out a little bit. It actually seemed to do pretty good that time. There's a little bit of space in between the walls in this frame, so you're not as worried about crushing bees. You just gotta be slow and gentle. Replacing these frames that I have the Beeswax Foundation on. The foundation is to give them a guide. It's not absolutely necessary, but if your hive isn't perfectly level, it prevents what they call cross-combing, where honeycombs come together. They're flying in and out of the hive. I don't know if it's a happy or unhappy or just confused hive. I'm going to go with confused right now, and we'll check back on them later.
Well, okay, that was an interesting experience. Certainly nothing I've ever done before. They're gonna let them be, no pun intended. I can do some external inspections and see if they're bringing in pollen to know if the queen's healthy and things are working. Give them some time to build up some comb and see what's going on. I couldn't help myself but jump a little bit when I first took out that can and had the bees start to fly out and everything. But overall, I didn't seem like they were dive bombing me or doing anything overly aggressive, although I have to look at the video later on and see if that's really true. And yeah, this has been a pretty wild, interesting experience. We'll see how things go from here.